It is time to see how fit I actually am on two wheels. It's time for the dreaded FTP test. Some love it, I hate it. Well, does anyone actually love it? But the FTP test is to work out your training zone, see how fit you are, and I guess it's the bench press of the cycling world. And recently I put out asking people for Q&A questions for a YouTube video, and someone asked me, what's your watts per kilo FTP, Georgie boy? You talk about giving it the berries, how many berries have you actually got? And the last time I done an FTP test was probably March last year. So a year ago since I'd done an FTP test, and it's because I avoid it like the plague. So I thought there's only one way to find out. See what power this chopper's got. Get involved with an FTP test. Now let's get into it. The last time I'd done an FTP test, I was 65.4 kilos, I think. So there's only one way to find out. It's to step on the scales, weigh yourself, because what's an FTP test without knowing the chopper's weight? And this morning I was 68.1 kilos, ladies and gentlemen, of pure skin and bone, no muscle whatsoever. It was time to fully carb my face up because I want carbs running through my veins. So a big old bowl of porridge to get me going, and also the tablets of all tablets, the caffeine tablets. 200 milligrams of caffeine running through my veins turns this man into the Duracell bunny. There it is. And then it was time to crack open every window in my conservatory, because this chopper's about to do it on Zwift. Yes, you heard that right, a Zwift FTP test. Normally I would do it outside. In the past I've always done it outside because I hate the pain and torture of looking at Zwift, watching that timer go up. It is painful. But we got booted up, clipped ourselves in, and we were ready for 20 minutes of torture. But not before, ladies and gentlemen. I popped a gel because this is serious stuff, an FTP test. I wanted those carbohydrates running through my veins, and I did do an hour of zone 2 before I'd done this. I wanted to get like a bit of a decent warm up, get some openers in. So popped a gel, then I had to go for an emergency wee in the back garden. Sorry wife. I'm then back on the turbo and we are ready to go. Cranked the new fan up to 4,000 to blow me away settings. Said a little prayer and apologised to the state my legs were about to be in, and it was go time, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I do not want to do a standard FTP test. A quick swig of the drink before we go. I decided to jump into a time trial, the race of truth, and if you've seen any of my previous FTP tests, you will know I go hot out the gate. What you doing 500 watts, Georgie boy? What I also didn't know is Zwift has done me dirty, and it doesn't start counting up until you approach the start line. Fear not, ladies and gentlemen, I've already wasted a few berries right here. But I was dual recording this on my head unit, Quark power meter, and also through Zwift on the kicker core. Now you can see your boy's doing 380 watts here. That was a bad idea. But I did manage to settle into it. My goal was to try and aim for 340, and then if I had anything left at the end, ramp up. But as you saw, I done the first minute at like 380 watts, and then also continued to burn all of my matches in the first 5 minutes like the absolute chopper I am. I will pop on the screen what I've done for 5 minutes. I had to get out the saddle just to stretch the legs a bit. Some people say you've got to stay seated for a test, blah blah blah. When I ride outside, I ride out the saddle a lot. So to break up this FTP test, I did get in and out the saddle a bit, but I managed to sit back down, get into a good rhythm. The problem is with getting out the saddle, it spikes your heart rate. You feel like absolute turd, but you've got to just crack on, get it done. And I was just trying to pick off rider at a time, and we were coming into the 10-minute mark, and I cannot lie to you, the grimaces were starting to come. I was in the hurt box and I was only halfway. I mean, look at that face. That is an ugly face right there doing a test. And in all honesty, at this point I was debating whether I was going to sack it off and do a 12-minute test and do some other sort of bodge job calculation to work out my FTP. But if I wasn't recording it for this, I probably would have done that. But I managed to dig in, get past the 12-minute mark, and the grimaces were getting worse. I'm not going to lie. No wonder why the wife closes her eyes sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, because look at the faces he's pulling, and they only get worse. But it was just a case of digging in. I think I was at about 15 minutes now. I'll pop on the screen how many watts I was doing. And the last 5 minutes were pure hell. Time stood still. And I just said to myself, this last couple of minutes, I was like, look at the faces. The rocket just does not want to see that ever. Poor, poor girl. Apologise to the wife. Look, dribble, sweat, tears. But I tried to get out the saddle with like 90 seconds to go and really dig in and put down some power. The initial bit spiked up. I was like, dance on the pedals, Georgie boy, dance on the pedals. And then I realised I'd gone way too early. I should have saved that for the last 30 seconds, so I had to sit back down. I tried to ramp it back up, bury myself. Your boy's got no beans left. Nil pois beans, so it was just pure survival mode up until the 20-minute mark, and honestly, it was absolutely savage. Doing an FTP test indoors is pure hell. You watch the clock, you get hot, and it's painful next time your boy's going back outside.
Wow. Went out hot, held on. Wow, that is way worse indoors. Holy cow. Sorry, legs.
That is FTP test complete, and if you're wondering how I've gone from bearded tramp on a turbo to good looking stallion, the wife gave me a haircut and I've also trimmed my beard. I probably should have done that before the FTP test, would have helped get the weight down a little bit. But we're going to go through the numbers in a second. And now for the all-important numbers. I tried to tell the wife, but she really doesn't care what my FTP is. But drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen. This was my best ever 20-minute power for raw numbers. I hit 346 watts for 20 minutes. That works out at 5.08 watts per kg. And gives me an FTP of about 329 watts. I don't know what the watts per kilo is for that. It is actually a little bit down watts per kilo wise though, because last time I'd done it, I did say I was at 65.4 kilos and I'd done 334 watts and it was 5.1 watts per kilo. But that is only 0.02 watts per kilo, so not that much. If I can just keep trying to increase the power, maybe drop the weight a kilo, I don't know, we'll see how that goes. But super pleased with those results, and indoors, which is a massive thing for me because I think that doing it indoors is way harder and definitely affects your power numbers. It's probably the most consistent 20 minutes I've done. Yes, I got out the saddle a few times, but it was just to get some like a different position in the legs when they were hurting. But super results. And the reason why I also done this was because the next phase of training I'm gonna go into a bit of a like training camp, 2 weeks if the wife lets me, and then I'm going to do rest week into FTP. So it's given me numbers to work off, and the 329 watts was what I'd actually predicted my FTP was anyway, so I was pretty spot on with that, which is good. But it's time to start putting in the work now. It'd be nice to try and hit 360 watts for 20 minutes. Is that possible? I don't know. But there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that is my FTP. Go and give it a go. I always try and do the 20-minute test when I am doing it because they're the sort of efforts that I train the most, more sustained efforts, the ones I hate, so it works for me. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down in the comments what your FTP is, what your goal is this year, because everyone loves having an FTP goal, and I'll catch you in the next video.